All right, class, let's get started. Scientific revolution's our topic here. Essential question: how did the scientific revolution change the view of the world and, of course, the universe? Now, during the medieval times, the medieval view of science, religious, and politics based on the divine right of kings, society governed by church, superstition played a large role in society. Science ideas influenced by Aristotle, so the science in the Middle Ages had not changed for hundreds of years. Earth was the center of a static universe that did not change or move. Science was actually a branch of theology. Now, some of the causes of the science revolution. Medieval universities provide the framework. So during this time, there were universities such as like Oxford, Harvard, and others, especially in Italy, that started to pop up. Renaissance stimulated science by rediscovering ancient math. Some navigational problems at sea created a need for science advancements. Scientific methodology improves research. Science revolution became a major cause for the New World View, 17th and 18th century. Now, let's talk about some of the people that definitely changed the world as we know it today. Nicholas Copernicus, 1473 to 1543. Heliocentric view argued that the Earth revolved around the Sun, and the Sun was the center of the universe. Book published after death. He feared a church backlash, so he didn't publish it until he died because he knew the church would ostracize him. His theory challenged the Bible, especially the book of Genesis. By 1616, the Catholic Church had proclaimed his theory false, and all who followed would be persecuted, in particular Galileo. Brahe of 1546 to 1601 and Kepler of 1571 to 1630. These two worked together. Brahe built an observatory and collected data and proved Copernicus. So he, had a rudimentary observatory and was able to collect a large amount of data about how the sun and the stars move, in the sky, and chart things. His assistant Kepler, assistant to Brahe, proved Copernicus through math. And so he was, quite the smart one with mathematics. Kepler developed three laws: planetary motion, elliptical, not uniform speed, and distance from the sun. So he, looking at the planets, surmised that they went in an elliptical orbit, not just a round one. That some of the planets moved faster than the others, and the distance from the sun delineated whether or not they were a faster moving planet. Now, Galileo Galilei, 1642, developed laws of motion, validated Copernicus's theory with a telescope that he actually built himself. His findings were controversial, especially in the Catholic Church. Ideas supported by Northern Protestants. So the Protestants in the northern part of Europe agreed or helped provide more of an avenue for Galileo's ideas. But at the time he was living in I think he was living in Italy. Wrote a book in 1632, Pope Urban VII forces him to court under Inquisition, forced him to retract some of what he was talking about. Galileo under house arrest for the rest of his life. We had Francis Bacon, 1561 to 1626, formalized empirical method, inductive methods, which would eventually become the scientific method. So he was more into methodology than anything else. Descartes in 1596 to 1650, discourse on method, used deductive reasoning, I think, therefore I am, logic, which was, the step-by-step Cartesian dualism, divided all existence into spiritual and material. With the use of Bacon, got to the scientific method. So we have Bacon, inductive reasoning, plus Descartes with deductive equals the scientific method. This all leads to Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1727, incorporated astronomy of Copernicus and physics of Galileo into one grand theory explaining the universe. So it was with the ideas of the people before him that Isaac Newton was able to get to where he was able to write a book called Principia, greatest science book ever. Everybody in the universe, every body in the universe attracts to another body, proving gravity. Since they were unchangeable laws, God not necessarily as an active participant, and this of course went against the church. Foundation of English view, deism. So, deism, sorry. So here's our mnemonic memory device to help us remember some of the important people from the scientific revolution. Cops bring kids great big donuts now. Copernicus, Brahe, Kepler, Galileo, Bacon, Descartes, Newton. So, that's one way to try to remember it. Now, the Royal Scientific Societies started to pop up during this time. Government and monarchies encouraged science revolution, increased technology. Science communities could exchange ideas across country borders. So the scientific knowledge, whether it was in France or in Germany, and they spoke two different languages, that scientific information could still be transformed back and forth. Royal Society in England, 1660, was established. It was the most prestigious, and it still exists even today. Now, the impact of the science revolution. Scientific revolution led to the Enlightenment, improvements in exploration, especially longitude and latitude, accelerated the agricultural revolution, which we'll talk about in the future, but in particular in England, improved medical knowledge, reduced support for the witch hunts, which was a good thing because then innocent people weren't being killed. After the Catholic Counter-Reformation, Church became hostile to science, so there was a decline in the South and in Italy. So the scientific revolution did not go on as much in the South. The Protestant countries, especially England, were leaders in science. So remember, history's no mystery. Take good notes.